Hey, how you doing there? Long time no see. Brian Zane here with the Smackdown review live and in living color. It's good to be back here on the live stream. Sorry it took a long time to get this stream started. I had a lot of technical difficulties I had to work out before rolling on this. A lot of microphone issues, but I think I got it figured out right now. Knock on wood, it's going to be fine from here. Smooth sailing from here on out. One thing we do before, I want to do before I get into the SmackDown review itself, I just want to remind everybody that we are less than 1 week away from my next big film live stream / watch along / riff. This time it's going to be of Ultimate Deathmatch. If you saw my review of this movie a month or two ago, then you know it's pretty darn bad. So let's try watching it all in its entirety together with my special guests, Matthew from Botchamania and Cultaholic, and my other guest star for this stream is going to be Ethan HD, who is a independent wrestler in the Pacific Northwest. He's worked all over the world, though. He's also a trainer. He's a former Defy Tag Team Champion out of the state of Washington. Also, he starred in the film as the Masked Azul. So he's got an inside track on what it was like to be part of this dumpster fire of a movie. So I'm really curious to hear what stories he has to say about this. And of course, it's a fundraiser for Feeding America. So all the super chats for that stream will go straight to Feeding America. It's happening next Thursday, December 17th at 12 noon, 3 p.m. Eastern, and that's, I guess, 8 Greenwich Meridian time if you live in the UK, if you're Matthew. And it's going to be here on the YouTube channel, so please go check that out. Next Thursday, Ultimate Deathmatch. It's going to be a great time. If you saw my live riff of romantic wrestling comedy, then you know some laughter is on hand for this one. So now with that out of the way, I guess we can start with the SmackDown review. It's what y'all came here for. So we begin with well, first of all, new location for the Thunderdome. No longer at the Amway Center in Orlando, now the Tropicana Field in Tampa Bay. So look, I don't know if it feels a bit different to you, but they've made a big deal out of it, and so we'll just see how many different arenas it can hop from in Florida before it finally runs out of spots. The show opens with a contract signing with Carmella and Sasha Banks over the Women's Championship for TLC. Sasha gets out there first and discovers there's no contract in the folder. So what is this, Adam Pearce? Some kind of setup? Adam Pearce doesn't know what's going on. He seems to never know in character what's going on there. But anyway, we see Carmella in the dressing room with the contract. She says she signed it. She hands it off to her errand boy, her sommelier, or however they pronounce it. It's not how I thought the word was pronounced. So anyway, he goes off to deliver it to Sasha. And she makes some Netflix references by saying she's not the Tiger King, it's the Queen's Gambit, and she's 4 steps ahead, you know. Come on, Sasha, you gotta hit her back with the Disney Plus references. You're in The Mandalorian, for God's sake. Carmella says Sasha's jealous of her. Sasha signs the contract. Well, she stamps it and says that if Carmella wants the title, show up tonight and fight for it. And suddenly, we have a title match in the main event tonight. So we're getting TLC a bit early here. Sasha sending a message by attacking Carmella's sommelier. I'm never gonna I can't reprogram my mind to say how they said it. I'm just called sommelier. I did like the little spin on the old contract signing format. I feel like we've seen the contract signing a lot lately in the Thunderdome. I feel it's been kind of like a once every 2 or 3 week kind of thing. And so to see this change up where Carmella's there with the contract already, it changes things up a bit, deviates from the formula. So I like that. Backstage, Kayla Braxton with the Street Profits. What do they think of Wregret calling them too funny to make money? Ford saying, what if I made it rain solo cuffs from the sky? And Dawkins presents the hypothetical of, what if I hit Robert Roode so hard on the outside that I rip a hole in the space-time continuum, and a bunch of little Robert Roodes come out there, like, yeah, okay, like, let's play with that. Let's roll with that a bit. I don't know if that was meant to be funny or thought-provoking or just weird. I think it was kind of all three of that. That was not Dio Madden. That was not Dio Madden. He was way too short to be Dio Madden, the sommelier. I'm sorry. Our first match sees Montez Ford versus Dolph Ziggler in singles action. Before the match begins, though, Dolph takes a shot at the Street Profits, calling them the poor man's version of Jesus and Mero, which, like, oh, okay, I haven't seen enough of their work to really make an apt comparison or to really know if that's on the one-to-one, but I can kind of see where he's going with that. Not the worst thing in the world. He says, only thing less funny than his stand-up is the Street Profits. Nice little self-deprecating humor there. And the thing less funny than them is that they're the tag team champions. And Rude says the Profits tag title reign will go up in smoke. Early in the match, Ziggler powders, and we get those solo cups raining from the sky like Montez predicted. But I'm like, that's a weird thing to have happen in the middle of the match. I'm like, shit, that's gonna happen. Does that mean like we're gonna see a bunch of like duplicate Robert Roodes popping out, a bunch of extras showing up dressed as Robert Roode? That's before the commercial break. Then afterward, in the end, Roode jumps Dawkins on the outside, causes a distraction, which allows Dolph to take over his super kick to win. Good little match, but the solo cup thing was just kind of weird, I thought. Backstage, Sami Zayn is mad. He does not have merch. Big E shows up with his shirt. I mean, why is the merchandise out there? No one's buying it. I thought it wasn't a merch stand per se, but it was like, I thought that was just kind of weird. Like, oh, all the shipment of merchandise. I guess we're presumably shipping out from the Thunderdome to people who buy it. I didn't quite understand that. So, like, there's a few other wrestlers like Apollo Crews and Kalisto in the back there, and they show their homemade Sami Zayn shirt. It says, I am Sami Zayn. This is crude stick figure drawing. Sammy's very offended by that. So we go to a match now, Sami versus Big E, non-title matchup here. Corey on commentary saying that Big E might not be able to handle the pressure of being Intercontinental Champion. Like, he's been Intercontinental Champion before. It's been a long time, but I mean, it's on his resume. Sami gets his heat, mocking Big E's gyrations, which is pretty funny. Takes a Uranagi and then feigns a hand injury. He's playing up his wrist injury here. He slaps Big E in the face. They both go under the ring and through it. Sami stomps on Big E and gets in the ring in time. Big E loses by countout. Ooh, that's sneaky Sami. Something building between these two, and I do like where it's going. Some people are complaining that it made Big E look kind of dumb, which I don't know about that. I mean, like, if he does it again, if they have a rematch and that happens again, then yes, I might say Big E looks kind of dumb. But I disagree with that. It's like I think Sami gets one per opponent, basically. We go backstage to see Bayley giving well wishes to Carmella in the title match. She starts calling Sasha overpaid and overrated. Starts to talk trash about Bianca Belair, and Belair's right behind her, and she brings out the receipts. Literally, it's not just a Twitter saying. She has like the receipts. I thought it would be funny if it was like a big long thing like the CVS receipts you get. She's talking about her recent losses and everything. Bayley's, that is. Then Bayley walks off. And we find out they're going to wrestle next week. So I'm looking forward to that match there. We get another Carmella interview. She's all over this show this week. She says she'll beat up Sasha and look sexy doing it. Tells the sommelier to get the champagne ready at ringside. Shouldn't the guy be selling his back a little bit, though? I forgot to mention that, though, in the contract signing. Sasha actually beats up the sommelier a bit. Like, hits the backstabber. He seems fine and dandy. That was a little funny. We get a recap of Roman's hellacious beatdown of Otis and Kevin Owens and his own cousin Jey Uso from last week. I forgot to mention in the review that, oh yeah, Roman also beat the shit out of Otis in that matchup with the steel stairs. Totally forgot to mention that one. So Roman is watching on the monitor as Jey walks up. As Jey walks up to him, they exchange pleasantries, and Roman's like, "Are you good? You should be good. You're with me." Ooh, that's so like manipulative there. Kevin Owens shows up and he starts throwing T's, L's, and C's into the ring, and Jey volunteers to go get him. I mean, it's right there on your shirt. It says, "I'ma get him." You should get him. That's your job. It says right there in your uniform. KO on the mic saying he does not fear Roman. After all that, it says that Roman's family is doing the fighting for him. He talks about his friends, the table, the ladder, and the chair, coming this fall to the CW. He goes on the ladder and talks some more trash, but then all of a sudden, Jey attacks from behind, hits him in the leg, and they're fighting for a bit. KO hits a pop-up powerbomb through the table to Jey to lay him out. Then Roman Reigns shows up, and Roman looks ready to fight. KO's going nuts in the ring, asking, Roman to come to the ring. And Paul Heyman stops Roman, saying, you got to keep a level head. You're calling the shots. You're the head of the table. And so Roman finally decides to leave, and KO hobbles after him. After the break, he's talking to Kayla Braxton about Roman. Roman hits him from behind with a chair, lays him out. Roman then talks some trash to him that I cannot figure out what he's saying. Well, I can't hear what he's saying. The audio is not mixed well. Then he starts talking to the camera, talking to the Owens family, saying, "I'm the one who's putting food on your table and putting the roof over your head. And if you don't talk sense into your husband, then I will take the food off the table." He beats him down some more. So yeah, I thought that was cold-blooded by Roman. I'm just, how often can you say, I'm really liking Roman Reigns' character right now? it seems redundant and repetitive to say, but it's just like he's consistently been the highlight of SmackDown ever since this summer. And so I'm really enjoying what he's doing. And how Kevin's going to come back from this, time will tell. Tag match here with the ladies. The Riot Squad take on Billie Kay, accompanied by her resume, and Natalya. So last week on Talking Smack, this match was made. Billie finds Natalya as her partner. It's not a very long match. Pretty short here. Ends with a double team move, like back-to-back moves on Kay for the Rioters to win, and Natalya's mad at her. I do like Billie's character. I always have. And I'm loving the resume shtick she's doing. I've been seeing some of the videos she's had. The one she did after The Undertaker retired was pretty hilarious. I should be the new Undertaker. And so I want to know where this is going. Like, will she keep trying to find partners? Will she, if that's the case, why did they break up the Iconics? It's one of the many times I've been asking this question this year. Mario Lopez gives a prediction on the main event of the evening. He also plays Colonel Sanders in a Lifetime movie, and I don't know what's real anymore. We see Chad Gable working with Otis. He's training him in the Alpha Academy. He wants to help work on Otis's blind side. So we get this montage of Otis training with the blindfold. Seems to be doing well. We get a backstage interview where Gable says he will mold this lump of clay into the proportions of Michelangelo's David. Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro show up and crack short jokes about Chad, but like Otis is right next to him. He's an inch shorter than Chad Gable, and like no one brings that up. Like, Otis didn't get Shorty O as his nickname for like a year, so like, what's the deal with keeping hammering on the damn short jokes? Poor Chad. So we get a match here with these two, Gable and Otis versus Shinsuke and Cesaro. Otis wants to go with the Caterpillar, but Gable wants the tag, immediately regrets it as Cesaro hits the big swing, and Shinsuke hits the Kinshasa, and Shinsuke Winsuke for his team. After the match, then, we get this segment where Gable's talking to Otis saying, you shouldn't have tagged me in because you had the match won, and the tag was a test, and he failed the test. He's teaching him what to do by showing him what not to do. I mean, Gable's taking this loss and the beating he suffered fairly well, I think, but he walks off and Otis looks very confused. I do like the chemistry of Otis and Gable, but like, why did they break up Heavy Machinery if they're just going to put Otis in a different tag team with someone he does not have like that history with? That is like, if you're going to break up a tag team, don't put them in another tag team right away, because it defeats the purpose of the breakup. Unless it's a bad tag team, which Heavy Machinery was not. So that is an interesting direction they're going with Otis right now. King Corbin's backstage with Cutler and Blake. The interviewer lady, I'm sorry, I don't know her name. She appears and they like wave a metal detector on her like they're his security. Corbin calls them the Knights of the Lone Wolf, which that phrase makes about as much sense as a one-man wolf pack. That's all I'm saying. And Corbin threatening Mysterio, Dominic, and Murphy, saying the consequences if you mess with me will be more severe than losing an eye. Like, yeah, I mean, feuding with Corbin's usually not a great time, so I would say I'd probably lose an eye over working with Corbin, I think. Your main event is for the SmackDown Women's Championship as Sasha Banks defends against Carmella. Cool new entrance. I really dug this entrance here. Backlit with a big silhouette on this white sheet. It comes down. She's revealed. I can't wait for people to say, oh, Kenny Omega ripoff. Carmella's very aggressive to start this match here. Hits a face buster on the apron. Sasha gets the bank statement locked in the end, but then the sommelier drags Carmella out of the ring. The distraction makes Sasha, I should say, snap. She's beating Carmella up in the corner, does not answer the 5 count, and gets disqualified. Pretty fast feeling 5 count, if I say so myself. So she gets DQ'd, beats up the Somalian sommelier a bit more until Carmella beats her up. She breaks one of the champagne bottles over Sasha's back, sprays champagne all over the place, and says Sasha is out of her league. I thought the segment as a whole, from the match to the beatdown afterward, was really well done. And we got to see that Carmella, it kind of reinvented in a way. Like, I think she wrestled, better than I'm used to seeing. There was this kind of stigma around her a couple years ago when she was the women's champion, how she couldn't wrestle and this and that. I think that she had a real bad rap when she was the women's champion last time, because I think it's a thing. It's not that she couldn't wrestle; it's that her character didn't need to wrestle very excellently. She was a heel, basically, and so she was wrestling a very heelish style. It's the same kind of defense I have for the Iconics, honestly. She seems very capable in the ring from what we've seen from her before and what we see tonight, I think. She just never really had to bust that stuff out before, and now she's kind of expanding her repertoire. So I thought there's some good heat at the end here, too. Last week I was not sure about this rivalry, but this week's episode definitely changed my mind. So that's my thoughts on SmackDown. I mean, that's how it went. Start giving me your giggity grades in the chat. And of course, after this, I will be answering some super chats. Real quick though, let's lose this lower third and come up with a grade. I thought it was a pretty good show this week. B- is the grade I give it here. I thought that we had a lot of matches on this show tonight. Some of them were shorter than others, but we have a lot of stuff to cram in there. But I liked Zayn and Big E. I always love their characters together. Reigns and that whole stuff with Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens, I thought was really well done. And the main event, like I said, I think that was also a very well done way to get more heat for I'm guessing, their inevitable match at TLC. Only match I hated from this night was the women's tag team match. It was just so short, and I'm curious to know where it's going to go with Billie Kay. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the show. I mean, I thought it was all right. It was pretty good. All right, I don't know. It all depends on your perspective, I guess. I was entertained, and whether you were entertained or not, that's up to you. Excuse me. So thank you for watching the review so far. We're at 207 viewers right now. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And now comes the time where I do the super chats. And that's my jingle for it from now on. I don't want anyone to hold me to that, though, because I'm not going to be able to remember it. Tyler Joseph Smith. Thank you, by the way, Tyler, for buying my book. I'll get to my plug for that in a minute there. Yes, Heavy Machinery breaking up so Otis can be with another team. Same with the Iconics. Why? What are my thoughts on Keith Lee being sent to the Performance Center to learn? And when will book ship? Oh, yes, there's the third part of that question. So, the team's breaking up only to put these guys in other teams like Billie Kay and Otis. Like, maybe it's a short-term Band-Aid kind of thing, and maybe once those things happen, they can branch off and do more single stuff. Like, I'm not going to be so quick to judge the teams right now, but I do question the logic of like breaking up a team and putting them right back into a team. It just doesn't make any sense, especially because like where have the other people gone? Like Peyton Royce, haven't seen too much of her lately. Tucker Knight, oh god, I feel so bad for Tucker Knight, my fellow Oregonian, man. Come on, I gotta root for you, man. Even though if you're from a town in Oregon I've never heard of before, and I'm from Oregon. Thoughts on Keith Lee being sent to the Performance Center? If that's true, I think that's unfortunate. Like, I've been seeing a lot of jokes about that. Like, what was it? Keith Lee needs to go back to learn how to wrestle. Like, the great Khali needs to go back and learn how to hold his arms up in the air. No, Keith Lee can wrestle. And I don't know if this is true about Keith being sent back there because he doesn't know how to work, according to Vince. I mean, who really knows? I try not to put too much stock in any of those rumors. Honestly, I'll believe it when I see it, essentially. And if it is true, like, that seems kind of a slap in the face. Hopefully he can do whatever he has to do to impress Vince. Somebody made a joke about maybe, like, Vince is Mr. Burns and Keith Lee is Don Mattingly. Shave those sideburns, Mattingly. So it's like, I can work, So thank you for that question. Also, as far as when the book will ship, I'm hoping to ship it out Monday. I've got a few... Hang on. I probably should have had this next to me on the couch to prepare for such a plug. Look at me, the old professional. So this is one of the last like 3 or 4 copies I have left of this book. Pro Animal Wrestling, A Guide to Pro Wrestling, written by myself and illustrated by Jorge Uribe. These have been selling pretty well. I'm almost out of my entire inventory. If you want one of these, it's $15 US and Canada, $20 everywhere else. Email me at wrestlingwithwregret@gmail.com. And it's a children's book. It is illustrated with some big full color illustrations of like these colorful animal characters, explaining the rules of professional wrestling to, like, I'd say 3rd or 4th grade is the minimum reading level for this one. So if you've got a young wrestling fan in your life and you still are looking for something for the holidays, hit me up, wrestlingwithwregret@gmail.com. Very few copies left. I'm going to say maybe 3 or 4 are left at this point. So they're going fast. And so I've been mailing them out to everywhere across the country and even around the world, as far as Australia and the UK and Germany and stuff. It's been really cool. So I'm really happy with the response this has gotten so far. And yes, they will be autographed, by the way. I will autograph them. And you might even get a little bonus sticker in there, too. Ooh. Parker Soulsang, $5 super chat. Billie Kay is probably the funniest person on the roster. Hey, Kayla! Yeah, I agree. I love Billie Kay's stuff. Like, as far as like a wrestler, like, I've always made this known on the channel. Like, y'all can back me up on this. I'm so much less a wrestling, like, technical skill person than I am a character person. And Billie Kay just checks all the boxes for a character for me. I love comedy characters too, and she's just so unflappable as a comic character. I think she's great. I really want to see them do more with her in that regard, because we've seen a lot of like comedic guys in wrestling. That's so like that's you know, there's funny guys in wrestling everywhere. Not enough funny ladies in wrestling, I don't think. And I think Billie, you know, if they do something right with her, I think that she could be really great in that role. Following up with that, Jose Reyes with $5. You gotta be joking me! Yeah, why isn't that not a shirt? Like, Bayley's come out with 2 new shirts, like, just in the last couple of weeks, with the Ding Dong Hello, and then the one she was wearing tonight with Know Your Role Model, which of course is a derivative of the Rocks. And so, like, yeah, give Billie Kay a You Gotta Be Joking Me shirt or something. Sean D, $2 super chat. Hello, brethren. I likes the wrestling too. Yes, thank you, Sean D, for that. Trakes with 4 X's, $2 super chat. SmackDown was good. Excited for the KO Roman feud. Yes, I'm excited for that as well. You know, it's like it's crazy. You know, the roles are totally reversed. I mean, think about what happened a few years ago when they were feuding for the Universal Championship, or was it that, or was it the Intercontinental Championship? I don't know, but they were feuding. I'm pretty sure they feuded back in the day, and so now it's totally reversed, and they're totally different places right now. So, yeah, I'm really excited for that as well. One thing I want to say, speaking of like comedic wrestlers, and this is not a knock on him, but right now, someone I'm enjoying right now on both like an in-ring quality stuff and a character that makes me smile, makes me laugh, is Timothy Thatcher. And I'm not just saying that because I've known this dude since like back when he was going to Portland wrestling, and he was from California, and I was working the same shows as him like 15 years ago. Yeah, let me just pick up that name I dropped. Oh, God. But I think he really gets it. I think he's not in a position where he gets to be funny that much, like intentionally, but he's so good with his facial expressions. Like, look at how he responded when he was working with, you know, Matt Riddle as the NXT Tag Champs. And he was like the replacement for Pete Dunne. And, like, just look at him in response to Matt Riddle. And the facial expressions he makes when he gets the chokehold locked on somebody, and like the eyes he makes when he gets it, oh my God, it's so great. And then like the look he gave when Tyler Rust ran by him, he's like he's really subtle about it. Like, he doesn't have to be like wild and crazy and funny, but he's so good with his facial expressions. I think he really I think at the end of the day, when he's done with his career, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a reputation similar to that of William Regal. How we all like William Regal now because he's able to walk that line. He can be serious. He can be hysterical. I think Timothy Thatcher, if he's cared for the right way, I also think he could go down as kind of one of those competitors, one of those kind of characters in wrestling. Because I think if they really want to like turn on the humor with him, I think he can pull it off. That's my take on Timothy Thatcher. Old T-Thatch. Let's see here. What do we got here? Somebody commenting on the sidebar stats for Dolph Ziggler. Been in WWE for 15 years. Like, I mean, there's so many things he's done. Like, it's kind of hard I mean, yes, obviously, former world champion. Probably should trump been in WWE for 15 years. But, I mean, I think that also, it's like he's just had such a big career. He's won so many belts. So, let's see here. Any more super chats to talk about? No? No, we don't? Okay. I guess while I'm here, for those of you who came into the show late, I just want one more time to plug Ultimate Deathmatch Live Riffaroo, happening next Thursday at 12 noon, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on the YouTube channel. I'll be hosting it alongside Matthew and Ethan HD. If you don't know him, you should get to learn about him. He's a Washington State-based wrestler, one half of the American Guns with Mike Santiago of Defy, former Defy Tag Team Champion, and he also starred in the movie as Azul Angel. So, he looked a lot different then, I will say. He's definitely put on a lot of muscle mass since then. So, but it's, you know, it's a really bad movie, and I almost didn't want to watch it again. But after we did the Romantic Wrestling Comedy live stream, I want to try and do more of these. So that's why we're going to do it next Thursday. And this is a fundraiser for Feeding America, so the super chats will go to this great organization. And so that's my last plug for that. We've got one more super chat from Wendigo, $5 Canadian. I see a lot of big men trying to play cruiserweights. WTF, play your own hand, not someone else's. I'm a big guy, I can do flips, but I don't. I mean, that's really like that. We could do a whole thing about the philosophical, like, you know, desire to go outside your comfort zone or go outside what's the norm for wrestlers. I think it's really impressive when big guys can do high-flying moves. Like, I mean, Keith Lee does some amazing stuff, and he's not really been able to show that, I believe, since being signed. The stuff he did in the Indies was absolutely crazy. You know, so I think, like, it's impressive. I don't think it needs to be, like, I don't think Keith Lee needs to be doing that stuff all the time. He does not have to, because he's so big and strong on his own. That is an attraction in and of itself. I think when it's kind of like when Brock Lesnar would do the shooting star press in OVW, and like he never needed to do it. And I think, you know, in WrestleMania 19 when he tried it, like if that was the one time he ever did it, and it was the one time he ever did it on television, and like if that was it, and if it worked, then I think it would have been amazing. But he would never have to do that ever again. So, like, I think that as far as, like, stay in your lane, like, that's like telling a cruiserweight he can only do, like, big flips and stuff. When, like, you see guys like Dean Malenko and, like, maybe Jamie Noble as he got later on in his career, where he didn't have to, like, rely on a bunch of high-flying stuff. He was just, you know, a technical guy. Like, you know, I think the great thing about wrestling is you can be, there's a lot of things you can be, you know? There shouldn't be, like, there's no molds in wrestling. There's no, like, strict, you know, you have to do this, you have to do that. There's a lot of, like, 90% rule, where you can kind of, like, there are norms, and there are, like, traditions, but if you're comfortable with doing it, and if you look good doing it, and if you make it look good, then you should be able to do kind of whatever you want, essentially. That's kind of the way I see it. Like, nobody was knocking Vader for doing moonsaults. That's all I'm saying. Let's see, do we have any more soups? No, but somebody asked me in the chat, Venom 4 for life, that's, okay. He asked me would I come out of retirement for the right match. No. I really wouldn't. I only want to wrestle if it's like in a tag team match where I don't have to do a whole lot. Honestly, I think after the last DDT I took, I probably took it wrong and fucked my neck up a bit, so like I probably shouldn't be taking bumps ever again. I might. I mean, like, I feel that my muscle memory is good enough that I could probably go in the ring and take a couple bumps and, like, no problem, but I'd probably be sore for the next couple of days. You know, if the story's right, I have no problem getting back in the ring. I was just thinking about that the other day, because when, you know, Pat Patterson dying a week or two ago, my memory of Pat was getting to meet him at the Cow Palace several years ago when APW did a show there, and it was the first independent show in the Cow Palace in like 30 years, and so they pulled out all the stops, APW did, and they brought Pat Patterson in to be a special guest, and that was really cool because he like helped define wrestling in the Cow Palace for so long, and Roy Shire's territory. So getting to meet him was cool, kind of nerve-wracking because he was sitting at ringside like during my match, like it was a 3-on-2 handicap with Levi and Buddy Royal. And I was like, I don't want to fuck anything up. And I kind of fucked some stuff up. It wasn't great, but it was, yeah. But I mean, that memory will always stay with me. Like getting to wrestle in the Cow Palace, like in front of Pat Patterson, like that was pretty cool. So, but as far as like if I ever want to wrestle again, I don't. That's a lot of pressure because I feel you can't watch a Brian Zane match without seeing some kind of irrevocable botch. So let's leave the memories alone, is what I say. Play WWE Mayhem on mobile. Is that a mobile game? I don't know. Would I ever consider playing a game with New Legacy Inc? Maybe. I don't know. Let's see here. Anthony Bertano. Okay, I'm looking at some of these chats right now on the side of the screen. But no, this has been a fun live stream, folks. I've really been enjoying the questions and the super chats. Yeah, but I mean, going back to what Wendigo said about big men trying to be cruiserweights. I mean, if you can do it, then like you don't always have to. If you can straddle that line and do both, then you know, do what makes sense. Do what connects with the fans more. I think we are in an era now. We're in this generation where it's got to be flips and high impact moves and stuff to get the crowd going, and it's like junk food. You know, you get too much of that, you get kind of sick of it. That's kind of my opinion of it. That's why I kind of liked AEW this week for, like, you had the Young Bucks and TH2, and you also had FTR and the Varsity Blondes. Like, two wildly different tag team matches, you know? But, like, that's for different tastes, different strokes for different folks. And so I'm glad they were able to kind of, like, have both of those on the same show. You got to have a bit of yin with your yang, I think. And I'm not talking about Jimmy Wang. Ooh, what's the best match in SmackDown history? I guess, I mean, he points out Iron Man match, Lesnar and Angle. I'm kind of inclined to agree. So, I don't know. Yeah. What do you think is the best SmackDown match in history? Let me know in the chat section here. Should there be a guideline to what moves can be done in a certain weight class? No. You know, the X Division said it best. It's not about weight limits. It's about no limits. That's why I always wondered why it took so long for, like, Samoa Joe to get into the division, or, like, why Abyss didn't just go in there and just clean house. You know, no limits. Fuck it. He's a big guy. It's not about weight limits. So, no. I don't think there should not be a limit on what you can do. If you can do it, then there's nothing wrong with you doing it. But it should make sense, is all I'm saying. Noble versus Nydia was the best match. Miss Jackie versus Dawn Marie, Pilgrim versus Indian. Oh, God. I can imagine exactly how that match would have gone. Look at Dawn. Look at Al. Look at Dawn. Look at Al. Thoughts on Goldberg calling out Roman Reigns? I couldn't care less, honestly. And I think that only if the end result is Roman Reigns destroying Goldberg, like, probably would have happened at WrestleMania this year if Roman didn't leave, is what I'm thinking. So, yeah. Oh, thank you for the compliment on the belt. I am the unauthorized, unofficial, unconfirmed WCW Hardcore Champion. Haku ain't got nothing on me. Or I guess Meng, if it was WCW. Listen to that. Was it after Al's kayfabe death? Well, still, look at Dawn, look at Al. I spoke with a writer once who was on the writing team during that time period, who told me that the planned ending of that storyline of Dawn Marie and Tori Wilson and Al Wilson would have been at the funeral for Al, and then, like, Tori and Dawn are fighting, and then Al would have popped up from the coffin, like, risen from the dead. I forget what the punchline would have been, but the whole thing was he wasn't dead. And that's how they would have ended it. Like, I almost wanted to see that. Like, I don't think it would have been a better ending than what we ended up getting, which was just him dying, and then that was that. But, you know, yeah, God, I want to see a book on all the different... I mean, there technically is a book out there. I think What Culture wrote one years ago. But I want to see more books about all the different, like, could-have-beens in terms of storylines and all the different, like, pitched stories. I mean, I know that, like, I think Heidenreich was supposed to be a unfrozen Nazi. Like, I'm glad they didn't do that one. But just the fact that somebody pitched that idea is pretty outrageous, I think. Billy... And with... I almost wanted to just wrap up the stream at Unfrozen Nazi and just say goodbye, everybody. Not quite ready there. Yeah. God, I want to do a countdown of, like, you know, the biggest unresolved or unfinished storylines. But maybe that's for another time. Folks, I got to tell you, not next week, but the week afterward is my review on The Authority. I just finished, like, cutting it down to, like, the length it's going to be at. And, oh my God, it's going to be like over a half hour long. I've really stepped in on this one. I've really put a strain on my editor, Izzy. It's like I told her today, you're going to hate me for this. This video's a half hour long. There's a shitload of B-roll you got to go through. So, felt bad for her. But I think it's going to be great, and I hope you guys enjoy that. But the week before that is going to be Chapter 2 of my End of WCW trilogy with... the Super Brawl Revenge pay-per-view, the penultimate WCW pay-per-view. I learned last week that the third to last is antepenultimate. So thank you to all those in the comments section who filled me in on that. Yeah, so I'm excited for the next couple of weeks. This year is going to end off really strong, on a strong note, because you're going to have Super Brawl Revenge, you're going to have the Authority angle, and I'm not doing, like, end of year, best of, worst of stuff until January. Like, I decided to wait until the year was done and dusted to make absolutely sure I knew what was going to go on the best and worst list this year. So I might be the last one of all the big YouTube channels to put out a countdown. But, you know, I want to get it right, is all I'm saying. One last super chat before we wrap up. Dylan Haggett with $2.99 Australian. Am I enjoying Final Fantasy X? Yeah, I'm kind of enjoying it all over again. Like, that was my jam in high school. Like, junior, senior year of high school, I was all about that game. I played the shit out of it. Mostly Blitzball, I gotta say. I'm probably one of the only people who really enjoyed the Blitzball minigame. But it's a grind, man. If you want Waka's like special weapon, you gotta play hundreds of Blitzball games. And let's just say I had more time and patience to do that when I was younger and didn't have a wife and kids to spend and a job, a career to spend my time on. So I'll get there eventually. But I am. I'm really enjoying it now. I'm at the point now where I'm just trying to grind and level up before I go to the final battle with Sin and all that stuff. So I love how the fact that like there's like a 50-50 split on how many people got the thumbnail for the Sin review. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it up there. That seems like a good place to end it. It's way better than Unfrozen Nazi, which I just mentioned again, so that's where I'm going to end it. But it's been a lot of fun doing this stream, folks. We'll be back here again next week. Yes, next Friday for the live stream. But of course, the day before, will be the Ultimate Deathmatch riff. So go check that out. Please mark it in your calendars. And of course, it will be archived for later viewing. It's been a lot of fun doing the Smackdown review tonight, and we'll do it again real soon. But until then, folks, I'm Brian Zane. I'll see you next time, and the Influencer loves ya.